Thanks for waiting for this PWHL Draft grade video. I know it's taken me a while. Here at GameDay Hockey, we have the latest and greatest breaking news only 2 weeks later. This has given us the chance, though, to have some perspective with free agency happening and some of the breaking news. There is that. So let's have a discussion about what we thought of each team's draft class. I'm going to break this up into the 3 American teams and then a separate video on the 3 Canadian teams, so they won't be too long for you. And be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. So looking at PWHL Boston, I think they had a pretty good draft, kind of sneaky good top and bottom. They set some clear goals and met them, got what they needed positionally. Of course, taking Hannah Bilka in the first round is just simply a great pick. They had a feeling that she might be there, and she was, and she played at Boston College, so she's looking forward to going back there.
I mean, I love the city. It's my favorite city probably ever. And, I think the fans were electric. That final game, they sold out that rink. So just really excited to go to such a skilled team, and then also just a passionate fan base.
And she is simply offense all day long. She's going to give them some scoring that they didn't have last season. So right away, that's going to address a need and take care of one of their items on their wish list. And then interestingly, they made that trade with New York to move up and take defender Daniela Pejova. So they gave up their pick 10, 16, and 28 to get number 7 and then number 37, which left them without, a lot of middle ground. But they wanted what they wanted, and they took Pejova, who I had rated really highly, as you know, and I really think the world of her and her upside. I believe she's going to be the youngest player in the entire league next season. She's only 21, so she has nothing but upside. She should be somebody that steps into a role that they gave up with Sophie Jakes departing for Minnesota, and she's physical, she's big, she shoots the puck, and she's so young that it was worth making this deal to get her. Really happy to see her go to Boston. After that, they had to wait a bit before taking defender Sydney Bard at number 22, and I think that's a really, really smart pick. Just a good, solid defender who's going to fit in. And it's notable that they haven't re-signed Kaylee Fratkin as of yet, so they must think that these two are going to make the roster and really fill that role for them next year. They did sign Emily Brown and Sydney Morin, so it looks like their blue line is shaping up nicely. After that, I think their later round picks were hoping for, a home run, maybe with upside, in taking a bit of a surprise player with Ilona Markova from Russia, who definitely has the skill set, but we haven't seen the Russian players in IIHF competition since 2019. So, it could be a sleeper pick, or it could be somebody that we somehow don't even get to see. I wasn't excited about the pick of Shea Maloney. I think that was a little bit early for her. But then picking up Hadley Hartmetz in the 7th round, she's a right-handed defender from Ohio State, and she was injured, so we're not sure of her timeline for return. But in her post-draft press conference, GM Danielle Marmer said that she thought they stole her because she was still available there, and that could be a really, really good pick. So, great early round picks and some swings at the end. So I'm going to give Boston a B+. Okay, so on to the team that I think did the best during the draft, as did many people, and that's New York. I mean, when you have the number 1 pick, chances are you're going to be pretty happy with your draft no matter what. So there's not too much more to say about Sarah Fillier that hasn't been said already. The expected best player, highest upside, great addition to their forward ranks. She can play center or wing. I would expect her to line up as the second-line center maybe for a while at the start, and then possibly they might try her out with Alex Carpenter. Great person, great player, and New York got a winner in that one. And then due to making that trade, interestingly, they got 8 players instead of 7, and I think they did amazingly well with their next 3 picks. They got the Swedish League former Defender of the Year, Maya Nyland Persson, and she's a really strong defender. So they didn't get Pejova, but they got someone that is sneaky good and going to fit in just great on their blue line there with Ella Shelton and Micah Zandy Hart. That's going to be a great top 3. I think fans are really going to like her. And then a sneaky good pick, a friend of the show, Nora Toulouse from Finland, who played with Luleå of the SDHL and was simply the leading scorer of the entire league. So if you want offense, Nora can give it to you. She's 28, so she's got that veteran expertise. She's going to look really good, and I think getting her where they did was just a steal. I mean, third round, we thought she'd go maybe in like the top 8 or 9 picks. And in case you forgot, this is what Nora said about draft day.
I'm super excited, but I'm also like really nervous, like you said. It's gonna be a lot of interviews and a lot of cameras and a lot of new people I haven't met before. So probably like a little bit uncomfortable situation for me, but something what I really want to experience. It's gonna be the moment to remember rest of my life. So I'm super excited to join this draft, and I'm going with an open mind. So whatever's gonna happen, so I'm taking it, and I'm just hoping that someone's gonna say my name.
So their forward ranks are looking really good. And they took Allison Simpson, a defender from Colgate, who will be familiar to Coach Greg Fargo, and I think she'll be a good fit as well. And Gabby Rosenthal, I'm just okay with that pick. I think she went a little high, but, you know, she's a good player, good depth player. And the pick of Elle Hartshee from Yale at number 25 kind of made up for that. Almost you could swap those two. We did get to talk to Elle on the purple carpet.
So it's kind of felt like a really long build-up, and we were really excited that the day's finally here, and you can feel the atmosphere and the energy. So I'm just excited, and I'm trying to live in the moment and take it all in and not be too nervous.
A Colgate product is Kaylee Osborne, the goaltender, who had outstanding numbers. And just to top it off, GM Pascal Daou decided to snap up Concordia player Emmy Fecteau, who Montreal fans, of course, had their eye on, and she was a really great U Sports player with great numbers there. So not only did New York get, a great quantity of players, I think they got a great quality. This is going to be a significant upgrade for them all over the roster. So things are looking good, New York fans, and I'm giving you the top grade. I think this was an A+ draft for PWHL New York. And for the third American team, we're of course going to discuss the draft host, Minnesota. And there are surprises everywhere, storylines everywhere with this team. They're the Walter Cup champions, and they had a lot to celebrate, including hosting the draft and having a lot of fans there in attendance. However, some of those fans were not too happy because of the recent dismissal of GM Natalie Darwitz. You could actually hear some boos raining down when they went up to take their first pick, which was third overall. And this was a little bit of a surprise as they went for Canadian defender Claire Thompson. I almost expected them to take Kayla Barnes, but Thompson is a really versatile, experienced, just good all-around defender who's going to help their roster right away. And she seemed excited to join Minnesota and said that she had some friends there in the interview right after she was picked.
Well, I'm fortunate to be surrounded in my life by many Minnesotans. Two of my best friends from college are from Minnesota. One of my current roommates in medical school she's from Minnesota as well. So I'm so excited to finally join the great state of hockey. I've heard so much about it.
And then, of course, we're on to some controversy as they went ahead and took the kind of most polarizing player of the day, Wisconsin forward Britta Curl. And I think enough has been said about that. We'll play a small clip here of what she had to say.
Honestly, a pretty big surprise for me. You try to kind of figure out where you're going to land in the draft and what teams are interested in you. And I think, the hard part with Minnesota was, the changes they've seen in their organization the past week or so. So didn't have a whole lot of contact with them, but, in the back of my mind, it was one of the teams I was hoping was, going to maybe pick me up, and super excited that they did.
You can also watch the full press conference of all teams on my channel here if you want to hear what everybody had to say. But there was a bit of defensiveness in the air, maybe just a little chip on the shoulder, that this is a good hockey player who did have great numbers with Wisconsin, was the captain of the team after all, and on the ice is going to be a great help. It's just a matter of what's going to happen off the ice teammates or with fans and with other people that aren't too happy that the team made the selection and has taken some of the turns. And if you want more controversy, there was the selection in the third round of Klara Himlarova, who's from St. Cloud. And this is where we thought they probably would have reached for their own player, Abby Boreen, who wanted to return there and wanted to continue her pharmacy studies. And so they took Himlarova, who was not there at the draft, and she was interviewed later and had all good things to say.
Because I didn't stay awake, but yeah, we watched the draft and obviously it was very nice to hear my name, and yeah, I was super excited. I think my mom cried a little bit, so it was nice to see my parents get a little emotional, so it was a very good night.
She's going to be a really useful player, but Montreal decided if you're not going to take her, we will.
Forward, Abby Boreen.
And that's when even more shock seemed to go through the crowd. So things at that point were a really mixed bag for Minnesota. And I'm going to include their next pick, forward Brooke McQuaig at number 21. I think that is too high for her. I really wasn't expecting her to go in the first 4 rounds. I thought maybe the 5th or 6th she could have been just a flyer for maybe somebody that wanted to get her locked up before free agency. They did make a couple of nice picks towards the end of the draft, especially with May Batherson, who is a good defender, and Katie Knoll, who is a forward from Northeastern. Kind of a depth player. She may or may not even crack the lineup depending on what else happens in free agency, which we now know that Michaela Cava has re-signed, and that was their most important player, and also Liz Sheppers. So acting GM Ken Klee at least got them in the fold. And that's definitely good news for Minnesota fans. It's not like they're, going to fall off, but it just seems like maybe some of the good vibes from winning the Walter Cup took a sharp turn. And to me, their draft is just reflective of that. I don't know if they didn't have all the prep time they needed. They did fine, selecting Thompson and Curl as a player. Himlarova and the others, I think, are just okay. And there were better players on the board at almost every turn. So I'm going to give them my lowest grade on the day. Unfortunately, they're going to get a D. Now, they might yet find a way to trade with Montreal to get Abby Boreen back, which would help them kind of get the fans back. But this is a team that is going to be fascinating to watch to see if they can do some damage control and keep things going, keep the positive momentum that they obviously got from winning the Walter Cup. But they need a GM. I don't think a GM coach is really something that's going to be easy to do in the PWHL. So I hope they do get someone hired. And they've already got 2 really good goaltenders. So that's, a plus. It's not like they're losing a lot, but they just didn't gain as much as other teams. So was their team, good enough that they didn't need to? When you've got a team like Boston that added a great forward and a great young defender, it's striking that Minnesota's additions were not like huge upside, exciting players. So that's the best way I can put it. I just have to give it a D for being underwhelming. So those are the 3 American teams and the draft report cards for you. I will be doing, of course, the Canadian teams, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. And as always, if you hit the thumbs up, it really helps. And stay tuned for the Canadian report cards coming up next.